You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Speaking of House Democrats, we've been talking about, of course, the Georgia race. We're going to get back. All this stuff is all tied in, y'all. The lawsuits and everything. And we're seeing all the attention right now on Georgia because of those two critical U.S. Senate races. Raphael Warnock running against Kelly Loeffler. Then, of course, you have Jon Ossoff running against incumbent Senator David Perdue. It's all about registering people. It's all about getting the votes out. And joining us right now is Congresswoman Lucy McBath. She won her very hotly contested race, and so she is returning for her second term in Congress. She also has a new book out, folks, and that book is, pull it up, please, is Standing Our Ground, A Mother's Story. Of course, we all know the story of her son, Jordan Davis, being shot and killed there in Florida. And the man who claimed the music was being too loud, he is sitting in prison right now for the murder of Jordan Davis. Congresswoman McBath, glad to have you on the show. You're seeing what's playing out with these crazy Trump people. You're seeing the lawsuits, but you're seeing the direct attack on black people. They are attacking black voters in Atlanta, in Philadelphia, in Detroit, in Milwaukee. That is what we're seeing. It is undeniable that there is a direct assault on the integrity of black voters in this country by Donald Trump and the Republican Party.
Well, I mean, you've absolutely right. Only we've got to stand up and call it out as what it actually is. And we've seen the assault most definitely in Georgia. It started in, this is the same voter suppression, everything that we've seen that we've been fighting for generation after generation after generation. You know, I think everyone saw across the country what happened to us with our primary elections June 9th. That has never ended. Of course, what you see happening in Georgia now with the recount and all these kinds of things, it's simply because, you know, voter suppression is still alive and well. And we still have a blanket across the nation, just all kinds of exercises and trying to suppress our right to vote, exercise our voice as to what's important to us. We have become now as a community, you know, people of color have become a community of a major voting bloc in the nation. And of course, they want to silence our voices because we, as we have seen, have been able to have such tremendous power in who we elect in our national politics, our state politics, and our local politics. And we flipped Georgia. You know, all the work that we've done here in Georgia, that's indicative of us using our collective power, doing a lot of massive organizing, mobilizing on the ground. Stacey Abrams has done phenomenal work since her historic bid for office in 2018. She's over 800,000 people she re-registered. And Fair Fight and all the other organizations that are working collaboratively together have done this. When we stand up and we fight and we vote, we have power. And I think that is the backlash that we see happening across the country everywhere.
When you see the attacks, when you see the lawsuit, when you see all these things, you heard what Reese just said right there. And that is, we get why the Biden-Harris team is doing what they're doing. But Democrats also got to realize there's no compromising with these people. There's no, you can't, because what they are showing you who they are. And this whole idea of, once it's all certified, Donald Trump's out, Republicans are going to go back to being, no. This is who they are. And to me right now, Congresswoman McBath, this is roll call. This is where you stand there and you go, let me see who spoke up and let me see who didn't. And if in this moment you're a Republican who is not condemning what they are doing, to me, those are people who cannot be trusted after January 20th, 2021.
Well, I mean, you know, Roland, I think there is so much riding on, you know, the African American population right now in particular. So much riding on Democrats, the party in particular. And, you know, we know that there's so many people that continue to hurt. And there's so many Americans who, they need health care and they need education and they need clean water and clean air, and they still need relief checks. People all across the country that still need help. But there again, I think we always have to remain focused on what's important to us, focused on the prize, and stop expecting people around us to change, to make it better for us. We have to be the ones to collectively spearhead what we need. That is us. That's no one else. We can't expect anyone to come in on a white big horse and save us. We have to always be determined and focused and driven to make sure that we are creating what we need to be successful. And that means that we have to do the work. And we just have to keep our eyes on the prize and stop expecting everyone around us to transition or to change. They may not. But collectively together as a people, we have to do what's best for us, and always just collectively together continue to work in the vein that we know we have to. We've always had to work harder. We've always had to, put our boots on and pull up our bootstraps and do our own work. And it's no different now. But there again, I think because we have done that, because we have, stood our ground, we have shown the world, we have shown the country, that we are people of strength and determination, and we are taking our place right now, whether they like it or not.
On that particular point, I mean, you chose to run for Congress after what happened with your son. It was a national story. Documentaries have been done about it as well. And what ended up happening was, before this case, but even with this case, people begin to learn about ALEC and the groups the corporations who were funding them, the people who were passing these stand your ground laws across the country. And also, while they were passing stand your ground laws, they were passing voter suppression laws as well. And it gave people an insight into how intertwined this system is with the oppression of Black people tied to corporate interests. Did you speak to that in your book?
I talked a little bit about ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. I talk about that because we know inextricably a lot of what happens with the gun culture is predicated through that as well. But we know that stand your ground is a law that can be used, just based upon the perception of a threat. Oftentimes, it's not the actual presence of a real threat. And the expansion of this law alone has been used, by the Republican legislature, by the NRA gun lobby, gun manufacturers, and of course, we know it's been used by the business community, the Republican business community, the white business community. I mean, it's all interconnected. I say that they're all bedfellows. And we know that this law has disproportionately affected communities of color. That's the reason why my book is called Standing Our Ground, because the Stand Your Ground law has been used all over the country, disproportionately used against young Black males and communities of color. So, that's where we are. And that's the reason why I ran for office, too, because beyond just being an organizer on the ground and mobilizing for gun safety advocacy, we've got to be able to mirror the two with federal legislation and state laws as well to really be able to really just define how we're going to make sure that we're keeping our community safe, keeping our people safe in our own communities. And that's something that we just have to absolutely do.
Panelists here got questions. First off, Reese Colbert, question for Congresswoman Lucy McBath.
Hi, Congresswoman Lucy McBath. I'm so honored to be able to ask you a question. I think you do amazing work. Thank you for your leadership. My question for you, as it relates to this runoff, we know that what we saw in the general election was there was a disconnect in the voting habits between people who prioritize the economy versus prioritizing coronavirus. We know that Georgia is relatively a wide open state, and so perhaps some of the messaging around lockdowns and mandatory mask wearing and things like that could be a bit of a turnoff. What would be your suggestion about messaging around tackling coronavirus in a way that you think resonates with Georgia voters specifically?
Well, I think, it always should be first and foremost listening to the experts, listening to the healthcare providers, listening to the, CDC, because they've done the research, they have the data. And, continuing to just make sure that we're advocating to do that. You know, and there again, you know, like with Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, you know, she has done everything that she possibly can to make sure that she's protecting her community, protecting the, you know, Atlanta. Of course, we have a governor who has thought otherwise, but you know, I have to applaud her, and I applaud everyone that is diligently following the science, and we should be substantiating. I mean, we should be following the science that substantiates that, you know, the only way to make sure that we can stay safe is one, you know, make sure we're wearing masks, washing hands, and social distancing. So, you know, we just have to continue to beat that drum, because when we don't, as a community, as a minority community, we die.
Erica Savage.
Good evening, Congresswoman McBath. Such a pleasure and honor to speak with you, and congratulations on the new book. Cannot quite wait to get that from my local indie bookstore. My question to you, as a fellow Georgian, someone who is from Georgia, with the Senate runoff election, we were just talking about moments ago how this process for absentee ballot requests essentially starts again and anew, and that the way that the Biden-Harris ticket won Georgia is largely through absentee ballots. What is the messaging that your office, that you are communicating to Georgians around ensuring that they are making sure that they are securing an absentee ballot, and particularly for college students, those that will are on campus that will probably be leaving to come home, to ensure that they have a temporary mail address to make sure that the absentee ballot goes to wherever they're going to be for their winter break?
Well, thank you for that question. We're doing everything that we can in our office to help drive voter turnout. And as we've often said many times before, you know, make sure you get to the polls early, or send in that ballot early. Whatever you choose to do, do it early, because we know that historically, when we vote early, you know, we're winning the early vote. And, you know, we've got to be able to do that to help ensure these seats. And we've got to request these ballots. We've got to request them early. I can't tell you how many people I talked to who waited to the last minute to request these, you know, vote by mail ballots. And then it was just absolutely too late. So just doing everything in my power to make sure that we let people know what those voter guidelines are, what those deadlines are. You know, go ahead, get that early vote by mail ballot, send it in right away. Make sure that you complete it in its entirety. Don't just stop at the top of that ticket. Completely follow the entire ballot. I mean, you just have to make sure that you're following every semblance of a guideline or instruction to make sure you're voting properly. You know, we've got field teams throughout the state that are following up with people who've submitted their ballots. And I'm really excited to say that, you know, my team in particular is still working with the Democratic Party of Georgia and their field team to make sure that we're working on the ground to make sure that everyone has the ability to vote. And especially young people, like you said, colleges and universities. We've got so many phenomenal universities here within the Atlanta metropolitan area and all over Georgia, and getting them to make sure how important it is that they exercise the right to vote is key, because they are driving a lot of these elections, the young people now. I think this is their new civil rights movement. This is their modern day civil rights movement that they are exercising their ability and their strength and their courage and their bravery. And they have to, because this is their future that they're fighting for.
Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Congresswoman McBath. Congratulations on your reelection by a wider margin in the Georgia 6th. I mean, you seem to have struck on the right balance to be able to continue to build consensus. And we all read the reports that they wanted you to run in this current Senate race. And I guess that really leads me to my question. I know you're a strong advocate of education. I love that mug, by the way, the Tears of the Gun Lobby mug you have. I love that. But you know, there's a slimmer majority now in the House. What's your message? I think about you, Johanna Hayes, and a few others, you know, Black women who have figured out a way to kind of blend the progressive agenda with an ability to continue to expand. What's their message to the Democratic Party on what the Democrats should be doing now, not only to secure the upcoming election, but to begin to build a real consensus of people in this country so that we don't have to continue to play the old games of centrist triangulation? You know, you seem to have discovered a path. What's your message to us? How should we be thinking about party politics now?
Well, first and foremost, I think we always have to be working hard to show results for the people that elected us, and really paying attention to their needs and really being invested. But and the thing that I like to think right now though is that my classmates, my freshman classmates, and I, particularly women of color, we spoke and told our stories, and yes, we have stories, and we're just like any other woman that has lived experiences, raising family, teaching our children right from wrong. And we've been invested in our communities, invested in the workforce. We've been invested in our churches, and so we told our stories. And I think what America's finally beginning to recognize is that we're no different than anyone else. We are as qualified, we are as capable, we have what it takes to take these seats. We just happen to be Black women.
Thank you.
All right, then. Well, Congresswoman, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much, folks. Again, the book, please pull it up for us, for our viewers, so they can be made aware of the book. Let's go. Standing Our Ground, A Mother's Story, Congresswoman Lucy McBath. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks so much. Look forward to having you back.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, thanks a lot. Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one. Hey, folks at Seek.com, they're supporters of our show, and they have two fantastic products, this virtual reality headset right here, and the 360-degree 4D headphones. With the virtual reality headset, if you want to watch the VR content on Seek.com or other 360-degree video, all you gotta do is just get one of these headsets, pop your phone right in, and you can actually be right in the room where the content was shot. It's really compelling. It's really compelling content there. One of the things that I also love about it is watching this video, people who've been hang gliding on roller coasters and things along those lines, and you literally feel like you're right there with them. They also have, of course, the headset, which you can use for gaming, for music, for videos, you name it. It's Bluetooth. Amazing sound, tremendous bass, and literally the sound goes all across your head. Mary Spio, a sister, she is the founder of this company. She actually also designed and created these products right here. If you want to get one or both, or even subscribe to Seek.com and their VR content, simply use this promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020, and you can do so. And so we certainly, again, appreciate them being partners with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered.